that. Yes. I want to look at how many hours did we put in to work on the things that matter. So, for example, Sam was able to put in 6 hours. Job did 4.5 hours. Let's share. Let's share. We want to see. Wilson did 3 hours. That's very good. Wilson, I can see you're starting to track. Dem did 6 hours. That's very, very, very good improvement. I would like to hear from one of you guys. How is that? Does it sound like slavery, or is it really improving your productivity? I would like to hear from someone. Claire, 2 hours. That's congratulations, Claire. That's your first day. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's a good start. That's a good start. I would like to hear from one of you guys who has probably one, the person who has started for the first time. That is if you're okay with sharing, and the person who has done it for some time. How is the timing working for you? Does it sound like slavery? Because someone told me I take life too seriously and I live like a slave. And I was like, oh, that's impressive. That's a good judgment. How did it sound? I don't want to be making guys slaves here. So I can hear from one person if you're in a position to. If not, then you can drop a zero so that we proceed. Thank you.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, Adam.
So when it comes to tracking, so first of all, I agree with you. Most of the times we think we are productive when we really are not. So with the tracking, personally, what I've noticed is that I've become more aware to my time or of my time. I'm very cautious. If I feel like there's any moment I'm doing something that's not productive, I'm in a position to quickly call myself and put myself back on track because time is really moving, time is waiting for no one. And yes, I have noticed some level of, I can say a little bit of improvement in my productivity. And I think you've ever mentioned if you give yourself 7 hours to do something, it's gonna take 7 hours. So what I normally try to do these days, I give myself um, the shortest time possible. I can to complete a task. And I think it's getting better with each and every moment. Yeah. So things that I'll take forever to do, yeah, they are something simple. I try to complete them in the shortest time that I can and move to something else. Yes. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's fantastic, and that's good progress. It seems as if it's not progress until it is actually good progress. And just as one habit is to keep giving yourself evidence that you're improving and you're going well. And it will all make sense eventually. It will be fantastic. So make sure also you're tracking and you're recording. That is also giving you a visual cue of how you're performing. And you will be, the whole point is to be intentional about our time so that we don't just throw our time around the place. On the other side, it's important to be cautious that also when you're starting, you don't give yourself too short period of time, like really, really short. Don't give yourself pressure. Don't allocate a very short time to do a task because what happens, it will raise your cortisol and therefore you will become anxious and stressed. So be gracious with yourself on the fast and then keep moving slowly by slowly. And then the whole point is we are playing long term. We are not playing short term. So, okay, keep that in mind. We are playing long term. We are not playing short term. When you understand that we are playing long term, what happens is you are able to give yourself grace and time. You don't pressure yourself too much into being, I'm the productivity guru, I'm creating time. No, no. Give yourself grace. Understand that this is a long time. This is a lifestyle that you're setting up, and it's not some short-term goal. Thank you very much. I wanted to go straight into our design, but I've been compelled to do what we do every day, which is, of course, holding ourselves accountable. I saw someone share in the chat box, so I'm going to read that. Samuel Munoru says, tracking helps me be intentional and self-aware on how I spend my time. It has been helpful in improving my productivity and efficiency. And that's the whole point. It's just like money. If you just, your work is just spending money, 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 you just buy, you just send, you just buy, you send, send. Um, you may be earning a lot of money. Money may be coming to you, but you are just but a pipe. And you know a pipe is not a container. A pipe will have gallons of water passing through it, but it will never retain any. I don't want you to be that. I want you to be the container that you will be reserving time. You know, you'll be having something to say. This is how much passed through my hands, and this is what I retained. This is what I have to show for myself. Thank you very much. To the tracker one more time. This is very, very, very important to give you evidence, to give you the visual cues that you're moving on the right track. I hope you do every day. It's also the intentionality part, and you click it every time you do it. So made my bed, woke up at 4 a.m., did my meditation for 10 minutes, but today I didn't complete because I was feeling a little bit I don't know. I was feeling ish. I just got tired in the midway and then I just quit. And that's also fine. And water, I got my water here because if I don't take water here, my guts will dry up. Self-hygiene is very important. When you wake up, just take care of yourself. You know, freshen up, feel great, feel super. Prepare your coffee. Today, I'm not taking coffee, just taking some hot water. I really want to take a break from it. Then I've joined the habit here. I did not manage to read today morning because I was preparing um, the design that we were working with yesterday, so that now we proceed. But then I'll read immediately after this, just a bit of some work that I have, and then do journaling, and then go for my morning workout. So I hope you're doing the same for yourself, so that you keep track of your habits, you build a lifestyle. Remember, we are playing the long-term game, and don't be sold um, the the threat or rather the anxiety of just the short-term wins. You will be here, God willing, is going to give you a long life, and you want to live a life that is super productive. And that should there be a judgment day and probably a day that you will be asked what you did with the time that you were given here, then you will have something to respond to. I have an interesting story that I want to read to you before we go into the design. And this is one of the letters from Seneca, and Seneca is one of the of the Roman writers. I have a wide interest of reading, and I want to share this with you today, if you allow me. And he's one of the greatest philosophers who was sharing very actionable points and knowledge that has also stayed relevant up to this time. So I'm going to read to you. It's just like 3, 4, 5 paragraphs and then finish it. Thank you very much. On saving time. So he was writing to his friend Lucilius. Greetings from Seneca to his friend Lucilius. He starts. Continue to act thus, my dear Lucilius. Set yourself free for your own sake. Gather and save your time, which till lately has been forced from you or fleeched away, or has merely slipped from your hands. Make yourself believe the truth of my words, that certain moments are torn from us, that some are gently removed, and that others glide beyond our reach. The most disgraceful kind of loss, however, is that due to carelessness. Furthermore, if you'll pay close heed to the problem, you will find that the largest portion of our life passes while we are doing ill, or goodly share while we are doing nothing, and the whole while we are doing that which is not to the purpose. What man can you show me who places any value on his time who reckons the worth of each day, who understands that he is dying daily. For we are mistaken when we look forward to death. The major portion of death has already passed. Whatever years lie behind us are in death's hands. Therefore, Lucilius, do as you write me that you are doing, holding every hour in your grasp. Lay hold of your today's task, and you will not need to depend so much upon tomorrow's. While we are postponing, life spins by. Nothing, dear Lucilius, is ours except time. We were entrusted by nature with the ownership of this single thing, so fleeting and slippery that anyone who will can oust us from possession. What fools these mortals be! They allow the cheapest and most useless things, which can easily be replaced, to be changed in the reckoning after they have acquired them, but they never regard themselves as in debt when they have received some of that precious commodity, time. And yet, time is the one loan which even a grateful recipient cannot repay. You may desire to know how I, who preach so highly about time, am practicing. I confess frankly, my expense account balances, as you would expect from one who is free-handed but careful. I cannot boast that I waste nothing, but I can at least tell you what I am wasting and the cause and the manner of the loss. I can give you the reasons I am a poor man. My situation, however, is the same as that of many who are reduced to slender means through no fault of their own. Everyone forgives them, but no one comes to their rescue. What is the state of things then? It is this. I do not regard a man as poor if the little which remains is enough for him. I advise you, however, to keep what is really yours, and you cannot begin too early. For that which is yours is time. So manage it well and keep guard of it every day. Of that which remains at the bottom, the amount is slight and the quality is vile. Farewell, Lucilius. This is like a mentor talking to his friend about keeping time. And this is why I'm guiding you. It's one of the inspirations that I'm guiding you. You own nothing. You own nothing but time. So please make good use of it. Time is a debt that even a grateful recipient cannot pay. You will never pay me this 1 hour that we spend here. No matter how much you're willing, you cannot afford to give back my time. So the only thing that you can do is to implement and make good use of your time. That would be my happiness going forward. Gives me fulfillment, and I'm always happy to know that you're making good use of every time. So today, make it an intention to make good use of your own time. If you don't have a reason, remember that I want you to make good use of your time. I could be your reason, but I am not good enough to be your reason. Let your reason be that you're dying every day. Every hour that you're wasting, you're dying. And I don't want you to die a miserable engineer. Yesterday, we got to look at the design of a U intersection. And for those of us who are probably have been here before, we got to look at some very, very, very interesting facts about the design of U-turns. And we were talking about thinking in the perspective of a problem solver who is providing solutions to who is providing solutions to business people. And of course, as an engineer, that is what you do. You provide solutions to people with problems, and then that's how they pay you. So it's not about being fancy and knowing manuals and doing softwares and all of that. That's not an end goal. Any tool that you're learning, any skill that you're not learning, the skill is not an end goal in itself. You must first think of what solutions will I be able to offer, or what problems will I be solving in this skill, with this skill that I'm learning, and then what value can I offer? And then the moment you understand that, it will be easy for you now to look for right people to offer that skill to. So sometimes we don't have customers because you don't know even what you can offer them. So if you don't know what you can offer, you cannot be able to know who is your target customer. And therefore, the moment you know what you can offer and identify your target customer, then you can know how to reach them and you can know where they hang out. And therefore, that's where networking comes in. So when we are talking about networking, it should actually be called strategic networking. So you go and hang out where people, either number one, people who have similar skills are hanging out, or number two, where your customers are. Those are the two places to hang out. So anytime you're hanging out, don't hang out like like a baboon. Hang out like a strategic person. And then we talked about the realities on the ground. And we say that in most of our urban areas and most of our roads, we don't have sufficient median to be able to design these kind of U-turns that we see in many other developed countries. Our road reserves are very, 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 very thin. And therefore, this is why we used this type of a U-turn. They are called loons, and therefore they are meant to control traffic, especially in areas where there is constrained traffic. One of the things that we talked about, and I thought it wise just to make a recap, because today we are now doing the U-turn itself. We did the deceleration part. Let me just go back to that. So we did the deceleration section, and then now today we are making the U-turn. And as we are making the U-turn, one of the things that we need to think about is the design vehicle. And how do you think about the design vehicle? The design vehicle, there are two main parameters. Number one is the vehicle characteristics. Which vehicle are you designing for? So for example, this is a passenger car, and the dimensions for a passenger car are as detailed below. For example, a passenger car is roughly 5.7, which is roughly 6 meters long. And then you find that there is a turning radius that you need for this vehicle. And the first thing is also the width of the section. So if you look on the left, you can see that this section was 2.50 meters. And actually, a vehicle is almost 2.5 meters wide. Therefore, if you have your U-turn section as 2.5 meters, it will be very difficult, for the drivers to navigate. They will be hitting the curb. And therefore, you need to take care of the path of the overhang of the vehicle, and then also the path of the front wheel of the vehicle, and how the vehicle is going to move, how the body is going to move around the section. And that is one of the reasons why the ideal lane width is 3.50, especially in instances where it will be turning. The 2.5 is for the vehicle. Then there is 3.0. That one at least allows drivers to be able to drive comfortably on the section. And then 3.5 in instances where 3.5 is very comfortable. It's ideal. And therefore, it's one of the factors that we use at an intersection. So that's one thing. The second thing is the radius of the vehicle. And when we are talking about the radius, you need also to think about the turning angle. And in this case, is the vehicle turning at 30 degrees? Is it turning at 60 degrees? Is it 90 degrees? Is it 120 degrees? Or is it 180 degrees? So for our scenario, the higher chance is the probability that you are working with is 180 degrees. We wanted to go back. That's why it's called a U-turn. So that's the U. But remember, when you're designing for other scenarios, then you will be able to look for different other angles that you can be able to explore in this case. It is important to know that the radius that we are talking about as the turning radius here, for example, you can see in this case, they are giving uh, the outer radius all the way to this point. It is 7.30 meters, for the vehicle to be able to turn completely all the way to the outer edge. Remember that this is all the way to the outer edge, and this one is into the inner edge of the roadway. So for the inner edge, it is 3.80, and for the outer section, it's 7.30. You will find different manuals have different specifications. So for example, you can see this for 180. The minimum radius for the outer wheel, they are talking about 5.75. The minimum radius for the outer body, you can see this one is going all the way to 6.78. So these parameters vary depending also to the vehicle make and all of those parameters. But now you can see when you are working with 7, all of these, it's fairly good enough. The other point is also the size of the vehicle. Remember, this was for the passenger car, and you can see ideally if you're working with something around above 7.5, because this is 7.30, this one is giving us a maximum of 7.77, and then this other one is giving us 6.28. So this means that if you're working with something about 7.5, you'll be particularly very safe. And when we are talking about 7.5, it's the radius to the outer, to the outer lane. It's very important for you to take note of this one. Then also, remember, you'll be designing for other types of vehicles. And this is where traffic surveys plays an important role. So for example, this is a fire apparatus or fire vehicle that is turning. This is also designing for emergency. You want to say, suppose there is an emergency, can a firefighters be able to use your section? So it's also thinking about what are the different users that are going to use the section. So as you're designing, it's important to have a very broad perspective, but at the same time having very physical or data or having real-time data that can help you to make these decisions. So let's look at, for example, the turning for the fire apparatus in this case. We are looking at an instance where, for example, it's want to make a complete, this is one what? This is 180 degrees. So it's turning from this road and joining to the other road. So this is also the same thing when you're designing intersections. And you remember also when we were designing the section where the bell mouth where the vehicles will be turning into our property. So this is also the other parameter that you need to look at. Remember also, these type of vehicles have a significantly bigger radius. And therefore, for example, this is for a truck. You can see it's quite big. You can see, as I told you, the width of the section is the width of the vehicle is 2.5, and the length of the vehicle is 15 meters. The length plays a big role and a big factor when actually you're designing the storage lane and the deceleration lanes. So remember, the deceleration lane will also act as a storage lane in case there is, in case the other road is not clear. So how many vehicles can you be able to accommodate in that section? So when we did 45, it's 50 actually. This means you can be able to accommodate at least 3 lunch trucks on the storage lane, especially the storage lane and not the diverging section, because if the vehicle now stalls at the diverging section, it means there's a probability of a crash from the back, or being hit from the back by the moving vehicles, and therefore it's going to obstruct traffic on the throughway. So at least with that storage, we can be able to accommodate 3 trucks. And if it was for the small vehicles now, you can divide that by 6 meters and be able to see how many vehicles we can be able to accommodate in that scenario. The radius for this one, for them to turn to turn back to 180 degrees, you can be able to see this is 12.5. And this is also, it's important to note where the radius is being measured to. It's to the outer, it's all the way to the outer. It's all the way to the outer edge. And then it's important for you to take note of that. And then also take your time to understand the path. Most of the people, the reason as to why we were struggling with creating the right geometry for the bell mouth is because we have not taken time. People don't take time to understand and comprehend this chart. They just look at the figure. And if your intention is to look at the figure, you will always get it wrong. Because numbers are numbers. It is how you understand how to apply them that makes sense. Different scenarios. You cannot say that in any design that you'll be using, you will just use 12.5. There are scenarios where 12.5 is not practical. It's giving a wrong geometry. It's actually looking ugly, there is aesthetics, there is ease, comfort, there is maneuverability of the drivers there. There is the turning angle that you anticipate. So please take a bit of time. This is in the road design manuals that I gave you, Kenya Road Design Manual. You can be able to check it out. It's in Ashtor. It's in every road design manual you will come across. Actually, if you just go do a simple Google search about the turning path of designed vehicles, then you can be able to get it. So with that information, I think it's prudent for us now to proceed and get to do our design here as per these as per the above discussed measures. So let's go in straight to our design. If this is your first time here, you can be able to look at the recordings that we've earned before, and you'll be able to understand what we are working at. But just a recap, this is a development property and you are designing access to it. This is in a dual carriageway and we want to increase the traffic and improve the accessibility for this development to be in business actually. And therefore we are designing and making a proposal for how the U-turns can be designed to ensure that we tap on the traffic that is coming from the other city. We are assuming this is going to be a super attractive area, super busy business section, and therefore it needs traffic. It needs traffic. And that's why we are proposing a U-turn. This U-turn is located at exactly this point here. This point is 400 meters away. The minimum distance recommended is 400 meters. The maximum is around 0.9. Because also if the U-turn is too far away, people lose. They will be wondering, where is this U-turn going? You've been to some sections, you've been driving in some roads, and you're like, why did they even put this thing here? The U-turn is far away from even the property. So it doesn't make sense if you consider having it like 1 kilometer. People will be like, no, it's not, it's too much. The other point that we need to take care of, let me just switch off my phone. People are texting a lot here. The other point is to be able to have visibility or sight distances. So in instances where we are doing such a design, it's good to ensure that people can be able to see the U-turn actually. It's also good to provide visual cues. We'll be talking about that, road marking and signages to tell people that there is a U-turn ahead. So yesterday we did approach it from the wrong side. Reason being, we assumed that this is also the other approach. You need to sit down and think, who are the people, who are my target people, and where do I want them to go? So the first thing, for the through traffic that is on the side of the property, there is someone who was probably coming. And this is why also origin destination surveys are very important for you to understand the trip patterns that happens in a certain area. So this guy will be coming to our property here to shop, and then after that, they want to take a U-turn and go back to their homes. So that is why we are giving them this U-turn. As I earlier did it, let me take one of these separate traffic. So this guy comes from this, he exits from the property, joins the main highway all the way. Remember now, this is a broken line. It means he can be able to switch lanes and weave and get to my section here. So we will get all the way to this area. This is the diverging section. He will be exiting. He will indicate from somewhere here. I will also have installed a sign someplace here to show them you turn ahead, and then they can be able to flow. You get that? And this is now the storage section. And the moment they get to complete the storage section, the moment they complete the storage section now, they have to make a U-turn here. Remember, this section now will not be there. Let me delete it. I've deleted that section, and therefore this remains to be the general median section. Like this is like a vegetated median section. So it is after the vehicle gets to this point, and remember this is 50 meters of the storage lane or the deceleration section, that they want now to make a U-turn. One of the things and considerations that we make when looking at the U-turn is what is the width of the section that we have. So for example, from where the road is all the way to the other edge of the roadway is around 10.704. And what type of a maneuver are we going to allow? So the ideal one that we are designing for this section to minimize the number of conflict points is from inner lane to inner lane. So this means our ideal design is to have this guy move from this deceleration section here and get directly to this lane and not cross to this other lane here. So if that is the case, now how do we approach it? We think about our design vehicle. What is our design vehicle? This one could be determined from the traffic surveys that you did. But as a rule of the thumb, you are always designing for the worst case scenario, for the largest vehicle possible. Now, how do we do that? The first thing, we can be able to, you can just use the arc home ribbon and then, the draw panel. You can just go to the arc, and then remember you're starting from the edge of this section, and therefore you can decide where you want the vehicle to get into this other way. Remember, you can decide to do a complete U-turn first, and then remember it should be tangential to that. So you make sure that it's very tangential. You can see that's a very good smooth section. And then make sure that it's also tapping into this very, very edge of the roadway here. That is the edge of the traveled way on the other side. Once we do that, that is like the obvious turn that we would anticipate or expect in such a scenario. If you are not sure where this is coming from, it's coming from the Ashto Green Book. This is version 2018. I was using 2011. I was given this to Abraham. Thank you, Abraham. And this one, we are going inner lane to inner lane. And you can see this is the complete turn that we are having. Remember also, there is this 0 point. I want you to see this. There is this section where we are having a 0.5 edge and a 0.5. So this is a separation between these. This is the median itself. Remember, this is the curb. And then after the curb, we are going to have, of course, like a space of 0.5, 0.5, showing that that's where like that's the edge that the vehicles will be using to turn. Because now you cannot be able to use the edge of the median as your target section. So let's get into back to this area. Let's determine the radius. We can go to dimensions and then get to have the radius of our section, and that's it. This is 5.430. Ah, yeah. Okay. So let's go back to our guide one more time. And we want to look at, for example, these sections. What is the inner one? For a passenger car, I will make this presentation mode so that we can be able to look at it. And let us look at it keenly. And we can see the minimum for this section. For the inner, that is the interior radius, minimum interior radius for a passenger car is 3.80. And then we come to this other vehicle, we can see the minimum inner radius for this one, it's going to be 4.39. And let's also go to, where is the other one? Sorry. We are looking at this one, and this one, they have not indicated the minimum inner radius. They have just indicated the outer radius all the way to this other point that is supposed to be 12.5. So at least with the section that we have, naturally as the site looks like, we are at least able to get the minimum inner radius. So let's now get to offset this one to let's say 0.5 fast. You remember that? That's So will be like the path of the vehicle that we anticipate, because we don't want it to be hugging the curb stone there. And then after that, we can be able to offset it to 3.5 meters. Let's do that. That's 3.5 meters. So if we are offsetting it to 3.5 meters, then it means that how can we be able to measure this section? Let's see the radius first. Let's measure the radius. Let's measure the radius right there. The radius for this section is becoming 9.430 all the way to the outer. This is the outer radius of the vehicle. And this one is falling slightly short of the target of at least 12. At least 12.5 is always a safe space, especially for such a section. Remember then again, there should be another 0.5. So let's do that, an offset of 0.5 on this upper edge. And we got it. So right there. And then let's get again to do the radius for this section. This one is getting to 9.930. So it looks like we are doing good here. We are doing good. And this one, remember, we are making a complete 180 degrees turn. A complete 180 degrees turn, and we are moving from inner lane to inner lane, inner lane to inner lane. All right, that's good. Now, what are some of the other things that we can be able to do? So this is where, and this is always the approach to design. Do not impose your judgment and decisions before you follow what the ideal site would look like before even making any judgment, before being crafty. And that is exactly what we are doing here. We are not designing anything there. What are we doing? We are just implementing. We are just implementing. Remember that we are just implementing what is the manual says so that we can have an impression. We can be able to get to understand how will this look like in a real scenario. So in an ideal site, is our site allowing the ideal characteristics and specifications that are set in the road design manual? It is only from that point now you can be able to bring your other knowledge, your other approach to solve the challenge. So we know that we should be looking for, if we assume this is 9 point, so we are looking for like a meter. We are looking like a meter increase in the radius. So what are some of the things that we can do to improve this? Okay, now this is the first thing that is always done that we look when we look at it. And I want us to go back to the road design manual again. I told you this is your complete guide that allows us. So if you keenly pay attention to what is happening here, one of the things that you can do is change the angle of deflection, especially for this one. You look at this. This does not necessarily look like a complete semicircle. So by twisting the angle of deflection, and that means the turning angle for that section, you have a higher probability of increasing the radius. Let's look at that one practically. How would this look like? Now, look at this one. Instead of us making the complete 180 degrees, we have the option of using where there was this other one that was marked. Let me go to this one. Yes, super. Love this. Instead of us, sorry. Hmm. Instead of us having a fixed mindset that our U-turn must be 180 degrees, you can see we can leverage on using a bigger angle. Like, for example, we can increase the deflection to like 150 degrees, especially, and remember, this is not mostly for the outer, for the inner, but the outer. But of course, twist it a little bit so that we can be able to accommodate the full maneuver. And then once we do that, we can run a vehicle path analysis to visualize how the vehicle is going to turn at that point. So let's get to do that right away, right here. The first thing I'm going to do is let me trim this section. Let me trim it. Trim. Remember now it is extending our approach just a little bit, which is fairly good, and that is how the section will look like. Remember now this one will be extended because it will be a broken section right there. So this is how the maneuver looks like naturally. We can actually start with getting to look at how a vehicle is going to turn through the section. And we go to vehicle tracking. We look at this one, auto hack drive. It's going to take us to the vehicle library. It's important also to remember, I want to take you back to what we end here. Our design vehicle, that we were working with. For this case, we can be able to use WB. We said we can try WB20 and WB12 and see the results that we have there. So we're going to US design vehicle, and then, of course, the Ashton ones, and then 2011. I remember someone was asking me a question of if you are in Kenya, what vehicles? I think that's a question that someone has not thought about. Kenya does not produce vehicles. And also there are standard dimensions for vehicles. What changes with vehicles is the make. So we come to that is WB what? You can see all these types of vehicles that have been listed on that table. They are here with us. So you can just be able to choose. I saw that one was WB. We can actually even be able to use WB40. It's a fairly a launch track right there. Let me not have this. Let me just assume the default, and we are going to have it here. WB40 is like an ideal vehicle. So let me assume it's already in the storage section right there, and you can see it fits perfectly nice there. Once we do that, we can now be able to proceed with our maneuver. So we are going there. So this is also the other important part as you're doing the vehicle path analysis. It's important for you to know the decision point that you need. So look at that one. You see, look at that one. This one, and then it's going to make a U-turn at this point. That is what we have right there. Remember now, also the point that you decide is where the driver is going to make a turn is also equally important, and where you position your vehicles, for example, right there. Let me go back to this point. Let me go back to this area. So this is a matter of now modifying your vehicle to see how the turn is going to look like for this case. Let me see. Let me go to this one. I want to do, oh, sorry. So that's it. Let me move this node a little bit. No, not that point. So this vehicle tracking, this swept path analysis for your section is so critical for you to make sure that even the decisions that you're making are practically possible to be done on site. You can be able to use that, and you can be able also to, let me see about that. I can be able to return it to that point. Actually, let me just merge these with these other point. So I retain my vehicle at that point. And what I'm seeing is it's becoming very challenging for me to design for an inner lane to inner lane. And this is where now you keep adjusting your design decisions. So what we are seeing at this point is with this median section, it's practically impossible for you to have a lunch truck make an inner lane to an inner lane. But if, for example, let me get to freeze this one. Let me get to freeze this one. Let me get to freeze this. And then once I do that, I want to go to the vehicle tracking one more time. And once I go to the vehicle tracking, I want now to use a small passenger car. This is a passenger car. Yes, this is a passenger car. Proceed. I don't want to make it the default. And I want now to simulate the same path with a small passenger car. Let me do it right there. So I'm going to drive it smoothly up to that point, up to this point, up to this point, and then I'm going to make a complete turn up to this point, and then I can be able to move all the way to this point, and then I'm going to proceed all the way to this other side of the road, okay? And then after I do that, I can be able to use this node. The one that has a cross is a way to, it's the ones that you use to adjust the path of your vehicle. So for example, if the cross is where you can be able to add an extra vehicle or turning point. So for example, I can be able to just align this a little bit. Also, remember where you decide to turn, check that out. Where you decide to turn will affect where you touch the curb. So it's important also you remember the critical decision points. And this is why all engineers need to be licensed drivers. So at least you can be making decisions from a practical perspective of the actual driving experience of the road users. So that's it. Also, we can get to move this a little bit into these. You remember the 0.5 line offset that was done. Look at it, how I'm utilizing it. Making sure that this edge of the car, the edge of the body, the green line represents the edge of the body, and the red line represents the edge of the red line represents the edge, or rather the path for the tire of the vehicle, of the rear tire actually. So it's important to make sure that it's aligned with your 0.5 meters. Um, you tweak it until it fits perfectly on your section. I'm moving in just a bit. That's it. So this means that's a perfect. This section, a small curve, a small road, or a small vehicle can be able to make can be able to make a complete U-turn in this section without necessarily causing an accident and without obstructing traffic on the other lane. You remember, you see that it's going to get directly into the inner lane. Now, there are other two approaches for this one. If the median here is allowing, because, for example, if you look at this instance, it's allowing, you can decide to design for another acceleration lane inside this area so that the vehicle can be able, instead of it getting directly into the inner lane here, you can be able to add an additional acceleration lane here, which is actually one of the common practice that you do. So this is super easy for you. So I'm not going to focus on that. It's the same way that we did the deceleration section here. I want to focus on designing the U-turn. So what this means is, and this is the beauty of the vehicle tracking or whatever, it is telling us if you look at these turning angles, especially for this specific side, we need to adjust. We need to adjust our the areas or sections that we decided to have, where we had put our cab or range of traveled way. So this means the outer one is perfectly good. But if you look at the inner one, the small 0.5 that we are allowing is a little bit out, so we can be able to push it just a bit, and we can be able to push it up to this point right there. So this means at least, even if we remove it, oh, sorry, even if we remove this one, at least the small vehicle will be able to make a complete turn. Now, let's go back to the road design manual one more time. I know I'm spending a bit too much of my time with you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I want us to look at this other point. Now, this is now the improvement that is done to increase. This is the section. So we can be able to do the widening, a small widening on the other side. Remember that we are doing a widening on the other side, on the opposite side, and the parameters for the widening is 45 meters for okay, it's starting from the upper side, so we are going to have 15 meters diverging section. We will have a 15 meters section that is straight, like a storage section, and then we have a tapering section of 45. So 15, 15, and 45. Let's get to do that. So let's get to it. So I'm just going to do an offset here, offset. And in the offset, I am going to remember, of course, the offset should be 3 meters for this case, because in the 3 meters, it means you can be able to accommodate the entire vehicle. So it's going to be 3.0 meters. So they have not indicated the width because it's obvious, the widening that you need at that section if you're accommodating an entire vehicle. But also remember, you may not necessarily be able to, you see, it's a complete section. Remember also, this section mostly, it is accommodated on the shoulder. It is mostly accommodated on the shoulder, and therefore you may not necessarily need to construct an entire lane. So it's just an extension of what we already have our shoulder. This was the edge of our capstone, so we are encroaching that a bit to just get to accommodate the section. So that's where it should be. Now, from this point, we are going to offset 15 meters offset. Let me do offset of 15 meters. So I'm going to do 15 meters. Let me be specific on where the offset should be able to start. Yes, should be able to start from this edge, not this one. So I need to make that right. Um, the 15 meters should be, let me copy this. Uh, Let me copy these guys quickly. And then this should be here from the edge of this point. So I'm going to delete this and do offset 15 meters to this point. Then after that, we are going to do another 15 to the right. And then after that, we are going to do another offset of 45 meters from this point all the way to this other point. Okay, great. So once we do that, we are already certain of what is going to happen. The assumption is you're always going to have more of a straight, the tapering or the widening is more of a straight section. So this one would naturally get from this point up to here. Uh, that is it. Our vehicles are going to move around. Remember, in some instances, there are areas that we need to create a circular section here, but it's not compulsory in like there are different types of transitions that you need to effect mostly from the straight section as you get into this. So for now, we are assuming a straight section, and then we do 15 here, and then after that, we are going to do our where is the other straight line? Our 15 meters, our 45 meters up to that point. So what do we do? I'm going to select these, select these, select these, and select this one, and then get to trim. So I'm going to trim this section here, and I'm also going to trim this section all the way to there. And also, did I get it right? Yes, I did. So this one also comes all the way to this point. So at least I have it there. Remember also, I need to change this section and break it. So I'm going to modify break. I'm going to break it at that point and also break it at this point and then change the road marking. Remember now this changes from the edge of traveled way and now it changes to like a widening. So it will be dotted. That is the marking. The other thing that is going to change is of course the shoulder. So the shoulder is going to be tapering directly into that. So I trim this, remove the shoulder there, remove the capstone also at this point, and then that's it. Super. So at least we have now a proper widening that can be able to accommodate the turning. So let us also now turn on the other, oh my God, and let's turn on the other large truck and see now how will this be able to effect and help us in making a good section that is going to accommodate all the vehicles. Well, so what we do, because already we are certain that the small vehicle is going to make a U-turn, we can switch it off. And therefore, after we switch it off, we come now to modify this section for us for the larger track, and we can be able to move it a little bit on that point, and we move it to this area, and therefore we can be able to see this section making a complete, that is the maximum it can be able to turn, and then we can be able to have a complete turn at that area. Uh, hmm. That's it right there. Uh, let me just undo. So at least I have that at that point. I can be able to move this. Let me remove the snap cursor and get to design the section slowly up to that point and then up to this area. Sorry. So what this also informs us is, remember we were talking about now the angle of inclination. and how we adjust the sections to accommodate the different vehicles. So this means also we can be able to change. What is changing here is the angle of inclination that we are going to have for our section. And therefore, it means we can be able to tweak the starting point and widen it up to some area there, and also widen this section up to some area right there. Okay, so this is what we are doing with the section. We adjust it so that at least we can be able to accommodate the track. That is perfectly fine up to that point. Remember also, we can therefore increase this path a little bit on this other end. Yes, that's perfectly fine. And then also increase this outer section. And this is it now. This means our section will move all the way to somewhere like there, uh, and then get to have such an area. So I'm going to, let me just delete the dimensions so that they don't complicate things around this area. And therefore, we are having this section. We can move uh, the, the radius up to that point. It's perfectly fitting in. And then also, it's perfectly putting in up to this point. So you can see at least up to this area, we are tapping back into the edge of the traveled way. So you can see the perfect semicircle that we anticipated is changing freely, slowly by slowly, as you tweak with the design vehicles that you're going to anticipate. The beauty of having the large truck vehicles is in most instances, the large trucks are the minimal vehicles that we have. Like, I mean, they are not the majority of the vehicles. So as much as the most majority vehicles can be able to maneuver comfortably at the section, therefore the large truck vehicle can be able to make the inner lane to outer lane maneuver that is favorable. So our design is to make sure that at least in the worst case scenario, that is when we are having a large track at this point, it will be able to make from inner lane to outer lane track. But for these other vehicles, they can be able to make an inner lane to an inner lane maneuver. So once you get to tweak it and adjust this one slowly, bit by bit, you can be able to get the perfect output. You can see that slowly by slowly. This task now, slowly by slowly, up to this point. Just ignore this one. Slowly by slowly, my guys. Sorry. Slowly by slowly, and you can see it's completely getting all the way to the edge of the widening that we've done at this point. So ideally, the reason as to why Ashtor was advocating for this widening on the opposite side is to accommodate the largest vehicle possible to be able to make a complete turn through the section. So this is how now you approach your design. And after now, at least you've gotten a rough idea of what is going to happen at this point. Now you keep refining, retweaking it slowly by slowly. There are some instances that you find, for example, you may need to do just a bit of widening, not only 3.0. You may need to do even a bit of probably 4 or something like that to accommodate the launch track. And therefore, it is up to you as the design engineer to be able to recommend the specific widening that is going to happen. Remember also, these sections can never be 3.0 meters, 3.5 meters, especially if you're designing for wide or for large tracks. So that is how you approach it. I don't want to spend a lot of your time. 9 minutes of your lifetime has already been spent on this one. And we said even the most grateful debtor or recipient cannot be able to pay you back your time. So thank you very much. We will also continue with this tomorrow so that now we refine this section, complete it, and then do the same for the other section. And at the end of the day, we will have our design. Remember, this is day 22. Super proud of you guys. showing up every day to get a bit of knowledge slowly by slowly. And that's how you are racking it up slowly by slowly. So we are going to refine this tomorrow. And then after refining it, we jump straight into designing the other section. The other section should be easy and we will be able to flow so easily for all of us. So thank you very much for your time. Wishing you all a fantastic day. Make sure that you track your time today. Make sure that you track your time. I'm going to send the video immediately. It's ready so that you can be able to go through that and apply. Remember, stop watching, start designing. Doesn't matter how many classes you attend, how many tutorials you watch, how many road design manuals you read, how many, whatever. If you're not doing, you'll never get it. So get in and do the work. Thank you very much. Wishing you a super productive day and take care of yourself, guys, every day, every time. Thank you very much.